And hello everyone and welcome to the first day of the Tourney of Tales for July 2021. It is time once again to don the royal regalia. Why is my camera being weird? Why is it that angle? That is strange. There we go, that's better. As the mother of bunnies, welcome to House Lappin's abode, as it were. And yes, if you are in, let's see, I do believe it has turned to, where am I looking at? This is what I'm looking at. This is our current UTC time. If you are in UTC +4 or later, you have, the tourney has officially begun for you. The channel points have officially been enabled. So Tal can get writing if she wants. Hello, good to see you. Oh, good. And Angstaze did show up and redeemed her edit. Excellent. Okay, I will. Thank you. I'm glad you're here because this is the last day I'm going to do edits before the tourney, right? Just because otherwise it would with the Tourney of Tales going on and World Anvil Summer Camp beginning tomorrow, I don't think I can do hour-long edits. I will still do showcases. I expect that to be part of it. But we will do edits today, so that is awesome, and I'm really glad you're here so that we can do that. And hello, Belle Dandy, nice to meet you. Welcome to the channel. Hello, Maya Wrights. Maya Wrights. Welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Dings all over the place. Thank you for the follow. Awesome here. I can't even keep up with the chat. That's great. Everyone's so excited. That is so cool. Is stream vaguely borkage? Probably. Alright, so just FYI, I am currently in interior BC. We are under the heat dome that you have heard so much about. The current temperature is 41 degrees Celsius where I am according to the official temperature, which means it's actually probably 43. My air conditioner is on the same circuit, so there may be power issues, and if the stream suddenly goes down, you know I blew the breaker and I have to go flip it. I will be back. I am here until 4 p.m. Pacific, so that is 2 hours and 40 minutes. I will be here regardless. Bear with me, I'll get back up. What is the Tourney of Tales? Alright, well, the Tourney of Tales is, there is a Twitch-based writer's game. It's designed to go in conjunction with National Novel Writing Month and the Camp Nano Month, so April and July. In April and July, we do the toned-down version called the Tourney of Tales of what is known as the Game of Tomes. How this works is you choose a banner, a house to represent. You support that house with your word count. Your word counts are accumulated between you and the other members of your house. The one who has the most at the end gets bragging rights. The people who have done the most, we have two separate categories. There's a leaderboard we keep track of. There's writers and what we're calling editors, and that's basically editing, translation, any kind of project like that. And we are, we're keeping track of your word count, and it all is accumulated. And it's a team sport and a mutual supportive process. And it turns writing into a game you play with friends. How you do that is, if you see down below the chat box there, you will see a treasure chest. That is my channel points. You click on that. A bunch of dialogue will come up. Right at the beginning, you will see a bunch of things that say GOT something report. Those are the channel point rewards. Because I am the leader of House Lappin. House Lappin appears first in my channel. This may be different in other channels. House leaders will have their house appear first. If you decide you want to represent that banner, you click on that. So I would click on House Lappin. I would enter the word count that I did either in a word sprint or in, you know, if you just want to write steadily through the stream and enter it near the end, I'll give you some heads up that the stream is about to end. We're roughly ending in 2 hours, 40 minutes, so that might give you a time frame. Whatever you've written or edited in that time, you can enter there, except that there are slightly different rules for editing as opposed to writing. Let me put that up there because that is important, and I need a refresher to remind myself exactly how we were counting that. There we go. This is the Game of Tomes website. Shut down my channel point thing here now. How do the minor houses report? That's a good question. Music is too loud. Okay. Fine. Okay. There. Okay. When you click on the channel point reward and you scroll past the major houses, you will see a thingy called minor Game of Tomes, or GOT standing for Game of Tomes, minor houses report. It will have a blank banner on it. You click, it's worth 3 channel points. You click on that, and that is how you do your reports for any minor house. They will automatically be tallied towards whatever house your minor house is serving. This is a change of rules from previous years. Feels like years, previous months. This has actually been going less than a year, right? A change of rules in that we don't expect you to remember what house your minor house is currently serving. The house leaders will keep that in mind. If you're supporting a minor house, report there and on all minor houses, and then it will be recorded towards whatever major house you are serving. So that is awesome. Your latest book, To the Purge. Okay, I've got it up. We'll look at it. I did see those. Yeah, Satrium is responding, yeah, as well, because he's the designer of our current system. Use the minor house report, add the name of your house in addition to your word count in the box. Yes, that's important to know which house you represent. You, for example, you did 100 words in a sprint, type in 100, and your house Sauropoda, type in Sauropoda, or house Sauropoda. Yeah. Awesome. Is there an official list on World Anvil of which greater house each minor house is affiliated with? Not currently, but there will be. We're still getting shit up and running. Up until this weekend, I had a major conference that I was on a planning committee of, and I was not up on it. I will edit the website today. All right. Oh, good. Oh, you put them in. Oh, lovely. Okay. Satrium is listing them now. House Tiki, motto, Hakuna Matata, led by Kahuna the Elder. I don't know who they're serving. I haven't heard yet. Sauropoda, motto Evolve, led by RPG Dinosaur Bob. Felis, Curiosity, Catnip, and the Quill, led by Masades. I know that they are currently in service to the Lapins because I was told, which is nice. Incendium, To Right Makes Light, led by Eli Quake. I don't remember who I think they said Lapin, but I can't be sure, right? And Carapare, Rise Up, led by Isaac A. Tom. Tiki and Sauropoda are serving Kitsune. Okay, that's good to know. Excellent. Great. Yeah, Rowan says and this is right, just submit them for them when the game becomes active in your area in a word counting stream. But here's the thing about Tourney of Tales. As opposed to Game of Tomes in November where you can change loyalties, you cannot change loyalties in the Tourney of Tales. Whatever house you first sign up for, that's the house you have to represent from that point on. So choose carefully, right? If you would like the major house mottos, those are also present. Would you like to do the honors of showcasing those, Satrium, so I can keep up with the chat? I would really appreciate it, since you're here. Duly noted, yes, Daz also has something in the queue first, so we will get through as many of these as we can. All right. Bitzer K, 532 words for House Millies yesterday. Good job. Yesterday being, like, what? See, because that's the other thing. What time zone were you in? Because if it is not the first in your time zone, you cannot participate yet. I have to wait. It is not the first in my time zone yet. It is, I am in the Pacific time zone. I'm like one of the last ones who gets to start playing. But conversely, those of us who are in the later time zones get to keep writing longer than anyone else, because when it is over in your time zone, when it is the 1st of August, you must stop playing. So that is how that works. All right. And I was going to look up word counting. I'm sorry if you said important things to me in the chat earlier. I have missed it. Incendium is following Chiroptera. Okay, thank you. I am so confused, says Bell Dandy. Fair enough. You're kind of jumping in the middle, and there's so many people saying things. All right, so let me help you. Okay, so there are 6 major houses. They're teams. They're writing teams. We're accumulating our word counts for our team. All the words that we choose to submit during participating Game of Tones streams count towards whatever house we are part of. We select that with the channel point reward option, choose the banner that represents the house that we are serving. For me, being the bunny house, I would choose Lapin, which it will appear first on this list, and then I would submit my word count. Only the words written during a participating Game of Tones stream count, but it can be any Game of Tones stream. For instance, I could go into, say, Coffee Quill's stream, who is the leader of House Mollusca and my opponent, right? And I would still be writing, and I could still submit my words to House Lapin, and it would still count, right? Every week, we're going to give you an update as to how people are doing. We're also going to give you a leaderboard that keeps track of who our most prolific writers and editors are. In Tourney of Tales, as opposed to the Game of Tones proper, which is in November, all writing projects count. You don't just have to be writing a first draft. You can be, oh, good idea, Satrium, you added the calendar command. Good stuff. And you made it match up to the command that I put in the Discord. Great. That avoids confusion. Good thinking. All right. Thank you for spamming. Yes. Yeah, and basically the two top, the most prolific writer and the most prolific editor, right? Some editing related task, receive digital prizes donated by the community. They're usually ebooks. That's what they were last time. Yeah, and you just report as a minor house and include the name Felis. Yes, if you are part of House Felis, you would use the minor house report, which will appear after all the other ones, and it's a blank black banner. And then you would type in whatever your word count was, Felis, and then it will be counted towards House Felis. My first Game of Tones. What house to join? What house to join? We encourage you to join whichever house. Oh, no, Calutan, because world building words are fresh drafts. You're writing them fresh. Anything that you write fresh counts, right? You can also rebel, right? I don't care. If you want to count editing stuff at the rate that we're counting it in the Tourney of Tales, I'm fine with that. Right? Okay, so how do you decide what house to serve? Take a look at their mottos and you know what they represent. Every one of them has merits and flaws. That's kind of detailed in a description for each of the major houses. Minor houses swear their service to major houses. There are 6 major houses. The minor houses swear service to one of them, so you may want to find out who they are serving. And you can also choose it by things like time zone of the leadership, right? I mean, that actually can have a bearing, right? It's kind of lonely when you're the only Avis writing at, 8 o'clock in the morning, because there's not a lot of Avis people around. in my time zone, right? So that might have a bearing, or you can choose it based on who's the leader of it. If you like their particular streams and you want to hang out with them more, right? Choose them. This is all in fun. We're here to encourage each other. That's the primary goal. If you're inspired by competition, cool. I'm inspired by trying not to let my team down because I want to support my people, right? I like it as a group activity, right? And the point, that's right, there is no totem pole. We're all equal here. That's exactly it. House leaders are more like wranglers. We're here to help organize and encourage and be a good example. You know, that's it. That's what the job is. So, yes. Yes, and unless you're a streamer, you're just one of the regulars. That's right. The Tome Knights. The Tome Knights. So, if more information is needed, it is detailed on the website. And I was looking up for us what we are doing for the, because I've forgotten, reporting stuff that is not writing a fresh draft. Okay. So, writing, original draft writing. This is the first time you put this word down, these words down. So, 99% of the world building stuff we do on World Anvil also counts for this. That's counted word for word. So you count your number of words in whatever it is that you wrote and submit that. Light editing. Light editing consists of minor typos, rephrasing, etc. That's counted at a rate of 15 words per 1 minute of editing time spent, or at 1/3 the number of total words edited. And the reason why we do that is because sometimes it goes really quickly, sometimes it takes forever to ponder one word, right? So it's finding a way to make it fair. Heavy editing. Heavy edits, rewriting, developmental editing, etc., where you have to like rewrite something completely, or, you know, put section Y in section Q, you know, rearrange your scenes, write a whole new plot line for a side character, whatever, right? Counted at a rate of 30 words per 1 minute of editing time spent, or at half the total number of words edited, because that tends to be more time consuming. Translation counts as heavy editing. All right. It is starting to freeze. It looks okay on my end. But it is a little laggy. Okay, that's where I turn. So what, about 30 seconds? Yeah, Millie's the motto could be, oops, missed break timer again. Okay. I think we're going to get into showcases. If you are in one of the time zones that can start writing, we're going to close this window in a moment, and that will help a great deal. All right, so you can start writing if you are in. Now this doesn't make any sense at all. Short fork? Okay, that's good. Yeah, okay, so UTC +4. Might be easier to look at a map. Actually, there's the map I recognize. Let's look at this map. Actually, that's not what I wanted, is it? I wanted to open this. Open image in new tab. That's what I wanted. Ah. Well, that's not going to help because it's like teeny. How about this one? Flies. Alright, this looks like it might be big enough. You're in GMT plus 10. Well, okay, awesome. Then welcome to the game there, Blitzer K. And I'm welcome to House Millies. I'm sure they'll appreciate your efforts. Alright, so here we have the UTC time zone, 0. If you are anywhere, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you are in this band or east, you can write. So let's see. Looks like Turkey, Iran, Kazakhstan, probably Moscow, Russia, Mongolia, China, India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, the Philippines, Japan, the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, Oz, New Zealand, Tasmania, right? Let's see what I say. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so, and we're starting to move into Saudi Arabia, Madagascar. That'll switch over in about half an hour, 20 minutes rather. And Iran should be ready to go now. So yeah, anywhere east of that. Let's kill all the rest of these extra windows. This one in particular is probably really big. Alright, first things first, we're going to quickly look at Natalia's books. I'm going to put up the sprint timer so that if you want a writing sprint and you are competing, you may do so. Here's our 15-minute sprint timer. Feel free to ignore it if you don't find it helpful to you in your writing, and if you do, then we do Pomodoro sprints here, 15 minutes on and 5 minutes off. We'll try to keep that steady now through the rest of the broadcast. I found a new VTT called Shard Tabletop. Cobalt Press was showcasing it on the screen. Yeah, that's right. Everything, pretty much everything in Asia and Australia is good to go. Right, and yeah, Asia and Australia, yeah. .5 hours left in Poland. Okay, Satrium, thank you very much. Awesome. Alright, so we're looking at Natalia's book here. This is Nova Babylon. It is up for pre-order. If you didn't catch the link in chat, I'd appreciate it if Natalia would send it again. Robin is admitted to a new home for girls, makes friends there, 9 whole years pass, and a group of friends, the Fallen Angels as they call themselves, cause a lot of trouble for the local police force, the Novas. But when war breaks out, the friends don't hesitate for a moment. They offer a helping hand in exchange for food and shelter. The finger of blame for the attacks on Nova Babylon is soon pointed to the near planet Katia and its inhabitants, the Katians. After the Fallen Angels have proven themselves, they are sent by Richard Lionel to Katia, where they come face to face with their enemy. Or so they think. Science fantasy, young adult. Looks good. And her Book of Secrets has paperbacks out. I bought one yesterday. Looking forward to it, Natalia. Got to support the community here. Never live in fear. That is the promise Myrtle made when she was 10 years old, and she meant to keep it. In a world where the creatures from dreams and nightmares live beyond the thicket of thorns, it is not strange to be afraid of something. When Myrtle gets a chance to look for a magical book beyond the thicket, she jumps at the opportunity. The world unravels before her, a realm with danger looking for a moment of weakness. Will she stay strong and keep her friends safe? Good luck with that. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do Angsthaze's edit, since she tried to redeem it yesterday, I told her it was not a good day, but this is the last day she will have an opportunity before Tourney of Tales and Summer Camp begin proper, so we are going to do it now. Then Daz, you're up, and then whoever we have left to do. If my talking bothers you and you are sprinting, feel free to turn down or mute the stream. Dabria wanted to pray. All her life she had prayed. She had sought comfort in prayer, and she had given thanks. I don't think you need in prayer here, since we're doing an edit, because you say prayed. You could just say, no skin off anything if you just say, if you want to keep it, but I think you could just say she had sought comfort and she had given thanks. People know you do that when you pray, and we've already got like 3 prays here, right? She had prayed just to tell the goddess about what was happening in her life, what was bothering her. If the goddess had never answered her directly, still, the act of prayer had brought her peace. Let's see. Yeah, still the act of prayer had brought her peace and allowed her to find her way through whatever challenges she faced. That was as Tara would have had it, she knew. The dwarves were her children, and she was a mother to them, not a father. A father would see his family fed and safe, but a mother brought her children to life and set them challenges to grow from there. Okay. So Tara is the goddess. This is a bit confusing. You may want to put that in here somewhere. Somehow, like, because I was a bit confused. Okay, Tara, who's Tara? Right? But you do explain it, but I trip up over it. Or you could also... Let me see. That was as Tara would have had it, she knew. I'm interested in your fantasy world, by the way. I'm trying to figure out a way to rephrase so that it's so, you don't trip up. But I see your difficulty here. I would struggle with this, right? Because you're wanting to emphasize she's a mother, not a father. That's very important, right? And then that whole section. Oh, it might be a simple solution to split the paragraph. Another trick you could do is capitalizing things. Making sure you're in the chat still, Anastasia, actually. Right? If you capitalize goddess, right? Then, and, there we go. If Tara had never answered directly. Maybe, yeah. That might work too. Let's see. No, actually, I don't think that. What I'm tripping up over is that since I don't know who Tara is yet when I get to this paragraph, and then we're talking about mothers and fathers, right? I'm kind of like, okay, is Tara Dabria's mother? Right? That's what my brain is doing, right? So I'm trying to figure out a way around it. Do it in the previous paragraph. That was my initial thought, but that's clunky. If you can find a less clunkier way to do it than I can, that would be great, right? Because my thought was if the goddess Tara had never answered her directly, but that's kind of clunky, right? I don't know. Maybe. You could do that, right? I think it interferes with the poetic meter that you're trying for in that first paragraph, though, which I really like. So, I might... Yeah. But maybe not. Maybe it works. Let me read that again. All her life she had prayed. She had sought comfort, and she had given thanks. She had prayed just to tell the goddess about what was happening in her life, what was bothering her. If the goddess Tara had never answered her directly, still the act of prayer had brought her peace and allowed her to find her way through whatever challenges she faced. It might work. Lurk to finish Mermaid story. Gotcha. Blitzer K says, I'm about to launch my fan fiction stream in a few minutes. Awesome. Or flash fiction stream, rather. Those who want to start with prompted stuff are welcome to come join me. It takes about an hour to write a flash fiction. Thanks for letting us know. Have a good time. Yeah, where you said I've been hammering this prayer pretty hard. But, well, it isn't exactly what I said. But, fair enough. Yeah, anyway, you get the idea. Another possible suggestion is capitalize goddess and capitalize her pronouns when we're talking to a goddess, right? So if you know, treat it like God, right? Why does God get to be capitalized, but women, you know, goddesses don't, you know? Right? I always kind of thought that. It's something I do as a pagan. It's a bit of a conceit. It's like, yeah, you know, screw you, right? Wicca is capitalized because it's the name of a religion. Pagan is capitalized because it's the name of a religion, right? And goddess gets to be capitalized if God does. That's, you know, something I've always kind of been pushy about. And I really don't give a shit what Oxford says. Oxford is prejudiced and needs to change. Anyway, but that's my thought. You could try that, and that would be a cue, right? You know? But maybe you don't like that, and that's fine. It's not proper English, right? I can definitely tell you that, and yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. Another thing you might want to do is consider splitting the paragraph here, right? Okay, that was as Tara would have had it, she knew. The dwarves were her children, and she was a mother to them, not a father. A father would see his family fed and safe, but a mother brought her children to life and set them challenges to grow from there. And that's a good point. Then I might split the paragraph. Tara had created them with minds and hands to think and to work. She had carved a space for them among the stone and taught them to carve further, taught them what stone would crumble, with what stone to build, or what stone would crumble, with what stone to build, and what stone would burn. She had given them rudimentary tools and hints towards improvement. Nicely put. I like your poetic meter in the prose. You're doing some good stuff there. That's really cool. Since the disaster, Dabria had sometimes wished Tara had been more of a father to them, or had at least taken husbands to help care for her children. Perhaps she always had wished that, and that had been why she had joined the priesthood. Is it? Yeah, I wasn't certain whether pantheistic gods pronouns got capitals. Not according to Oxford, because they're prejudiced, but they can kiss my ass, in my personal opinion. But yeah, you know, yeah, according to Oxford, no. Okay, and hello, Siobhan. Cold tub, no doubt, if you were out in that heat. Good God. Okay, so with redacted characters, you can't see if there's a tooltip or not. So should I only do ones with a tooltip? I don't know what you're talking about there, Macaro. Are you saying should you not redact stuff with a tool or with a tooltip? Probably not, if it doesn't show. Unless you want that to be kind of a hidden thing. Hey, the right idea. Tenacity Grove, I changed my name. Cool name. I like it. Welcome. How are you? Thank you for clarifying you changed your name. That's helpful. Neat. Daz says, a trick I use, the POV character only capitalizes the pronouns of the gods, goddesses they are devoted to, even if said deity is part of a pantheon. Clever, Daz. That's a good one. Is Sable muted? Other people are responding to me, so I don't think so. Perhaps you do not have your headphones plugged in all the way, Siobhan. Okay. I want to tooltip some redacted things to indicate the required security clearance level, but if you can't tell the difference between redacted without a tooltip and redacted with, you should never do without. I think that's logical. James is in Lapin colors for July. Yay! Muted tab. Got it. Yes, Barbarossa, that is true. Just realized my nation of Andros is completely surrounded by nations, all of which could be enemies. Yep. Okay. Priesthood is what I stumbled on, right? Is it a priesthood? Right? I mean, okay, because I don't know. It depends on what you want to do with priest. Priest is a gendered word, right? Priestess is also a gendered word. Do you want to use the gendered word? Is there a better word? Not in English, right? Who becomes part of the clergy of Terra? Are they all women? Are they all men? It seems, are they men and women? It seems that Dabria has, thinks of her as being very feminine, and that might have a bearing. It's the only reason why I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying consider it. That's all. Like a father, the priests were responsible for the everyday needs of the children of Terra. Yep, okay, the gentle guidance and encouragement, and even storing food from the Great Lake against times of need. She had found her way to the Sacerdos Mortis to bring comfort to the living in times of death, and she had done that with prayer and ritual. Had joined the Sacerdos. Okay. Okay. Right. Maybe. Yeah, priest is definitely a gendered word, right? So, unless they're all men, I would say clergy there, or holy sisters, or holy, something like that. I don't know. It's awkward, right? It's awkward. Clergy is not a word we use commonly in the vernacular, right? Anyway. That's the sprint for those of you who are sprinting. If you are doing the sprint, yeah, cleric is gender neutral. Exactly, Daz. Right? If you are the Order of Terra, yeah. The Order, yeah. Yeah, it's I always struggle with this myself. Yeah, if you're doing sprints, this is a good time to enter your word counts. We're about to turn over to UTC +3 can begin. So that would be, where are we here? That's UTC +4 there, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So UTC +3 includes Madagascar, Mozambique, Tanzania, Kenya, Somalia, Saudi Arabia. I cannot read that. I think St. Petersburg. Yeah, the Ukraine has to wait another hour or two. Okay. Cleric sounds really D&D to me because of the connotations. Cleric has existed since, like, Roman times, I think, is a term. But yeah, that's where people tend to use it. Shepherd. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, maybe. Ansaze says, perhaps she had always wished that, and that had been why she joined the Sacerdos. Like a father, the Sacerdos were responsible for the everyday needs of the children of Terra. That's better. Now I get the idea. The gentle guidance and encouragement, and even storing food from the Great Lake against times of need. She had found her way into the Sacerdos Mortis to bring comfort to the living in times of death, and she had done that with prayer and ritual. That's perfect. Good work. Good point there, Barbarossa. One thing I also noticed is that the Empire has 3 points of sea or ocean access. but they are shared by many other nations who possess far more coastline, and means that Adras has limited shipbuilding and seafaring capabilities. You might want to look a bit into the history of Russia. It has struggled with the same problem, which is part of the reason why it has made a lot of its reaching in recent years. Greece, Turkey, and Hungary, I think, are in the next time zone, Siobhan. All right, good night, Natalia. Good to see you. World clock. If it's past 23:59, you can start reporting. And link provided by James. Thank you. Yeah, if the world doesn't have a lot of grass, they don't have sheep. So using that as a connotation is not going to work for Anastasia. On with the show. She bowed her head over the body, still trapped by the rock. It had been a young woman once. Her beard and hair as dark as obsidian under the dust and dirt of having mined this access. That's nice. Thank you for giving your female dwarves beards. I like that. I like that. I like to do that too. Right? That was the legend, and just because our gender ideals don't like that doesn't mean it works that way for other species. Very well done. Alright, yes. I'm not sure. I don't think you need this comma. I could be wrong here. It had been a young woman once, comma. Her beard and hair as dark as... Yeah, but this comma, right? It had been a young woman, comma. I don't think you need that one. I could be wrong. Right? Author Goddess is better at that shit than I am. But anyway, yeah. Dabria had filled the mouth with rich soil. Nice! Tipped the plutomerus from the vial and released a pair of typhi... What is that? That requires an explanation. That's the dragon of productivity growling to tell you to get back to work if you are word sprinting and you are reporting. So it demands sacrifices of creativity. So Sable, I did a redeem for something you've already read. Can you refund my points and I'll give up my showcase spot to someone else for today? You bet. I will do that momentarily. Yeah, there are sheep in the world, but not among the cities of Terra. Yeah, that makes sense because they're dwarves, right? They live in... Well, I mean, there could be goats, I suppose. Not underground. Yeah. I don't know what this word is, and the... Well, the Eli is right, actually, Daz. I'm, like, 1 over the number of showcases I should have, and one of them is going to be an edit, so I'm pretty much going to do nothing this stream but read stuff, right? Already. I probably won't get to a 4th showcase. She's, they're right. Eli's right. So... Anyway, as I was saying, Typhloine, I don't know what that is. And the word is large, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know what to suggest instead, because I don't know what you mean, but more explanation is needed or another term is required. Anyway. Okay, but she could ask the goddess's blessing. No S after the apostrophe in a possessive that ends with S. Blessing on their work in bringing new life from death. There was no goddess to ask, not anymore. No goddess to ask. Also, anymore is 1 word. It's the genus name, honestly. I thought you were at 3. I would have been at 3 if I didn't have 1 in the queue. Right? You reminded me I have 1 in the queue. 2 were redeemed right at the beginning. Right? And Anastasia redeemed her edit. So that is 4 with an edit. It's not happening, I'm telling you. I would have looked at whoever was last and said, okay, I'm gonna have to wait till next time. So I'm constantly translating Celestial. Yeah, thanks. Would you mind there, Stretch? That would be helpful if you would do that for me. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, any more is 1 word. That news had come even before the disaster. The gods, all 4 of them, were leaving Sumatio entirely. Okay. Any more versus any more. Alright. Piss off. Okay. Any more and any more have related meanings, but they're not interchangeable. Whether you make any more one word or two depends on how you're using it. Any more refers to quantities. Would you like more tea? Any more is an adverb that refers to time. I don't take tea anymore. Are there any more cookies? You already ate 7. You don't need any more. When spelled as one word, any more is an adverb that refers to time, which is what you're talking about. It means at present, still, or any longer. Why doesn't Mom bake cookies anymore? She doesn't bake cookies anymore because you always eat them all and don't leave any for her. Okay, so anyway, back to this. This is Grammarly.com. Okay. What is Sumatia or Sumatio? Or are we explaining this in the next paragraph? This is a thing that science fiction and fantasy writers run into a lot. We're told show don't tell, but sometimes if you put things in the sentence, right, as part of the thoughts that are running through the character, there's still a lot of information and it doesn't really make any sense, right? I don't know what Sumatio is. I've already been going, okay, we've got Plutomerus, we've got, Sacerdos Mortis, Terra, and like my brain is kind of struggling to catch up at this point. That's why Mom should bake more cookies. MOAR cookies. Yes, totally. It's hilarious. Battle of the Mods. Siobhan was already on it. That's great. Thanks, guys. Awesome. I appreciate you being on it. Yeah, okay. Sumatio is the world. Oh, hello, Time Pool. Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome, welcome. We are doing stuff in advance of summer camp, but right now what we're doing is we are doing an edit. We're going over Anstase's work. And yeah, how was your stream? I hope it went well. Were you doing summer camp prep? I think I saw that in your announcement. And thank you to those of you who followed the Voices of Time Pool into our chat. Oh, hey! Thank you, Emperor Charles, for the subscription. 4 months. Woot! Thank you very much. That's great. Much appreciated. How are you? Terminology fatigue. Yes, that is a good thing. You know, I might just not use Sumatio here. We don't need that information right now, I don't think. How long is this? What are we looking at here? 12 pages. It's a story? Does that information matter at this point? Or at all? Right? The world is what it is. We already know it's a different world, right? Because we're talking about dwarves. We were getting angry at Illustrator. Probably the universe, depending on who you ask. Exactly, right? So, I mean, the world, right? All 4 of them were leaving. The news had come even before the disaster. The gods, all 4 of them, were leaving the world entirely. Dabria had heard it from the mouth of the goddess herself. Terra had addressed those of her priesthood in the great temple as she bade them farewell. She had praised their service, their intelligence, their skill, and said she was confident that they could thrive on their own. Nearly got a mic to the eye. Poor Stretch. I'm good, says Charles. Excellent. Glad to hear it. 5K-ish. Okay. She had been so confident, as solid as the stone beneath their feet. Dabria had felt proud to be told that the children of Terra were ready to be adults on their own. She had vied with the others to join the delegation, to meet with representatives of the other peoples of Samatio. That's where you can put in Samatio. Right? The other peoples of Samatio. Right? That runs more smoothly. We're like, okay, there's a world, that's the world. The Right Idea asks, hey Sable and chat, what is your opinion on the letter or diary entry format for novels? What's the term for that? Episcopal format? Right? My post-apocalyptic novel I'm working on, I'm thinking of making either all of it or some of the characters' entire perspectives diary entries, a la Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's been done a lot of times with post-apocalyptic novels for the reason that I think it works very well, right? World War Z, World War Z, as you Americans insist on calling it, is written in part like that. War Day novel by people probably wouldn't be well, Whitney Strieber and I don't remember who his co-author is, but they wrote theirs like that. It's a good format for that because it's like direct experience in a really intense first person kind of way. And so yeah, I say it can definitely work, right? So go for it. Siobhan says, I'm planning a story of the Princess Bride style, complete with interruptions. Awesome. Fourth wall breaking. Nice. Okay. She had vied with the others to join the delegation to meet with representatives of the other peoples of Samatio, as excited as a child from the depths, heading to the Skole for the first time. What is the Skole? Is that the surface? If that's the surface, say the surface. Where, it's a little much for, terminology, right? And it's a short, it's 5,000 words. It's a short story, right? If you were writing a series of novels, right, that might be important. Epistolary. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you very much. Yes. If you want to present more than one point of view, though, you have to cut out the journal letter translation into the next with whomever is reading it all. Yeah. All right. Now even the stone beneath Dabria's feet was cracked. Her party was still more than 32 kilometers from what had been the north side of the mountain. Why 32? That's a very precise number, right? When you're saying more than 30, right? Because that's kind of a round number, more than 30 kilometers, right? If we're counting twos, we know exactly how far away it is, right? Unless you did that deliberately in order to tell us that dwarves are very, very good at measuring distances. In which case, that's nice. Yeah, this is how you lose the Time War did it as well. Okay, I have shit bit rate here. Like I said, I'm struggling with my power needs in this house right now. My router is probably overheated. Anyway. Okay. From what had been the north side of the mountain, but it had been days since they had found survivors. The woman leading the Cardinal Tunnel team had sent word of fused rock no more than another day ahead. though it had taken them far longer to dig that far. Did any of you know it when she was a woman? Dabria looked between the men who had been assigned to assist her. They were strangers. Know it when she was a woman? I'm confused totally. I don't know what that means. Okay. Maybe you'll explain. I'll go on. Did any of you know it when she was a woman? Dabria looked between the men who had been assigned to assist her. They were strangers to her still, for all that they had been working together for weeks. It's divisible by 8. We round to 8s, not 10s here. Oh, okay. Okay, so I gotta ask, because I'm gonna edit differently depending. Is this intended as a short story? Is this completed at 5,000 words? Right? Or is this part of a longer work? Because if the answer is yes, it's a short story, I think everybody has significant lag. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go to break. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, we're going to carry on here. Hopefully I've got this organized now. I am going to shut off my camera while I am reading. Alright, carrying on. Okay, I see I've got a fair bit of delay on the stream now. What does the timer there say? Good job, Bitzer. Please don't type a bunch of extra stuff, though, right? Words in flash fiction this morning, right? Don't type that. Just type the words, right? You will confuse the bot if you keep doing that, and it will blow up, and it will not work, and it will not count our words. Thank you. We have about a minute and a half delay, it looks like, so I'm going to wait for responses there, but I'm going to carry on. At this point, what I want to ask Anastasia is, am I editing a short story, or is this part of a novel? If it's a short story, we don't need to know that they measure things in eighths, right? Unless you intend to make it part of a story collection. So I suggest minimizing the confusing factors that people trip over and go, what's that? Even science fiction and fantasy readers are kind of going, what? I mean, it's fine, it's perfectly good to have in your world, it's just not necessary information for the story. If you're writing a short story, right? A short story needs to have, like, only the information that's required, right? Is it relevant to the plot? We don't need it, if it's not. It's a pain in my butt, because this is one reason why I do much better. I feel more comfortable. I won't say I do better, but I feel comfortable doing long fiction as opposed to short fiction. We're going to carry on until 3 o'clock with this edit because of the various interruptions, and at that point, regardless of where we are, we're going to stop and we're going to take another break probably and then do a showcase. Unfortunately, yes, it is a short story in a world with other short stories. Ah, okay, that's different. If it is a short story in a world with other short stories. Alright, so I tend to say go ahead and use real world units of measurement. We're not speaking English anyway, so what difference does it make? But when you're being, you know, I realize you're doing things in scales of 8, but if you're doing things you're already changing that, right? So my suggestion here is use a different word aside from kilometers, right? Any word, right? It can be a more archaic word that we have used, leagues, hectares, whatever, right? Or it can be, you know, a fictional unit of measurement, right? Okay, see you, Macaro, right? And have a good day, right? And that's just because it, you know, makes it less difficult for people to be, like, tripping over that, that's all. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I can only assume it's the heat. That's the sprint, for those of you sprinting. Are we guys going to be able to make the Star Wars game tonight, given the heat? I don't know. I will ask Aaron when I am done, and I will get back to you. It shouldn't make any difference, but I also have to go and clean my mother's stuff out of her old apartment tonight at some point. So I need to have a better idea of what the plan is. Alright, moving on. Did any of you know it when she was a woman? I don't know what you mean by it there. Clicks. Says on Shazzy. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. Set the game on Tatooine? Well, it'd certainly be the appropriate feeling for it. The problem is because Aaron reformatted my computer, I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the reinstall or if it has to do with the heat. I can only assume it must be the heat. I have shut down everything, man. I've shut down, like every graphic doesn't show, like isn't running unless it's showing, right? Everything. I'm even doing that now with these little borders on the browser source there, the things that say recent donation and stuff, because you know, which I don't normally do, but I'm doing that because I'm trying to minimize the effect. I got my camera off. I don't know what the fuck else I'm supposed to do here, right? I'm about tempted to pick up the whole computer and huck it right out the window that's in front of me. I am too tired and too hot to deal with this shit today. Alright, moving on. We're gonna go, like I said, to 3 o'clock and then we're done. So wherever that is, that's what we're doing. Okay, I don't know what you mean by it. Did any of you know it when she was a woman? Please clarify. Dabria looked between the men who had been assigned it to assist her. They were strangers to her still, for all that they had been working together for weeks. No, Sacerdos. It was Daryl who spoke, she thought. She can't see him? Why does she not know? Okay. I don't think either of us knew those who lived this deep. Samael was the one with the citrine hair, almost as yellow as an elf's. I like that. That's a beautiful phrase. Samael was the one with the citrine hair, almost as yellow as an elf's. What a lovely... Okay, that's beautiful. I love that. Okay, let me explain why. First of all, it tells me that that's so much world building right there. It's just amazing. Almost as yellow as an elf's. Okay. Oh, you have a typo here. The first "an" should be an S. So you've got "an" twice. I didn't even notice until I read it back the second or third time. But yeah, no, it's beautiful world building because first of all, we know there's elves. Okay. And they're comparing them to elves. And of course, dwarves would think of yellow as being citrine. That's cool. That's cool. That tells us a lot about the dwarves, and it tells us about the world, and it tells us a little bit about the elves. That's really neat. Oh, so that's a big culture point. The dead lose their gender. Oh, yes, okay. Cayutan says, it's getting late here and I'm tired. Can you keep my showcase for later? I would really like to hear your opinion / feedback. Sure, I can do that, Cayutan. Actually, this is an important announcement, guys. Thank you for bringing it up. Time. Jamie is going back to work. So I am required to change my streaming schedule. As of next week, all of my writing streams, just mine, not Aaron's, so that would be Sable's World Forge, Diane Writes, and Diane Actually Writes, will start at 12 p.m. Pacific, so 1 hour earlier for World Forge and Diane Writes, and 2 hours earlier for Diane Actually Writes. And that is for the foreseeable future. I have to be finished by 3:30, right? You'll notice that Diane Writes, or Diane Actually Writes, that's to get back to work for all of you. But, yeah, so... yeah, I have to start earlier, and that will be for the foreseeable future, starting this Sunday, next week, the beginning of next week. So that might be a lot better for, my European regulars. So there you go, Cayetane. You'll have an easier time managing till the end of the stream next week. Yeah, until the end of my Kickstarter, basically, I've got it listed as a couple different things on the calendar, but Diane actually writes with the Kickstarter prelude thing will run from noon Pacific to 3:30 p.m. Pacific. So that would be 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern. This is all my streams, right? All my writing streams. 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UTC, 8 p.m. in the UK, noon, right? 5 a.m. in Oz. And yeah, edits ends after today. Yeah. Ansaze says it's sort of a psychologically important when we're feeding people's bodies back to the food chain. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, then I know a way to fix that for you, Ansaze. Did any of you know it, the corpse, when she was a woman? That should take care of that. Okay. I don't think either of us knew those who lived this deep. Samael was the one with the citrine hair, almost as yellow as an elf's. Maybe Presley, but it was one of those we bade farewell yesterday. Your Diane actually writes will be the same time as the World Anvil stream then? No. It's not intended to be. It'll run right after. I don't know if I'm adding the time zones wrong or if you are there, Stretch, but it's supposed to be right after the World Anvil stream. World Anvil stream starts at 11 o'clock, according to my calendar, and runs for an hour. So at noon, I start, right? Right after. Whenever the fuck that is in your time zone. Okay, anyway. Dabria nodded. Presley had been the itinerant priest, serving families who were too far from the cities to travel for worship. It had died well, arms wrapped around 3 children of various ages. Aww. Samael had suggested they'd been sent ahead with it, that their families might have hoped the priest could move them to safety faster than their own parents could. None of them had survived. Intense. Okay, duly noted there, James. Dabri didn't understand what had happened. There had been so little warning. The goddess had bidden them farewell, and the Celestials had given her priests only a little time to remove their belongings from the great temple before it was destroyed. The Celestials had withdrawn, perhaps to their own conferences, as the children of Terra had sent delegates to a gathering of peoples. Dabria had left Spalalan, had begun traveling towards her sister's home. Testeve would have allowed her to stay while she considered what a former Sacerdos Mortis could do in a world with no gods to serve. This answer was not one Dabria would have chosen. Holler had appeared from nowhere, and Dabria wasn't certain whether it was a true image or presence or illusion, but whatever it was had been brief. Flee was the message. Go south, go far, go deep, go fast, and it had been gone. I assume Holler was one of the deities. Oh, which one starts 2 hours earlier then? Over the past month or so, due to the Kickstarter there, Stretch, I've been starting early with a Kickstarter thing. Diane actually writes is supposed to start from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time, but I've been starting earlier because I'm trying to promote the Kickstarter, right? So so that may be the source of confusion. Anyway. Diane writes, and Sable's World Forge start at 1 p.m. Pacific, so they'd be an hour earlier. Sorry to be confusing. If Holler is one of the deities, that might be helpful. Okay. Dabria had pressed north towards Testve and her family. Like their parents, Testve had chosen to live in an area with only a tiny spring, too small to support even a village. She and her husbands had worked hard to make it a home. Nice. So the goddess might have husbands, and women have husbands. Nice. Okay. So that's a cultural thing. Way to bring that back together, Anastasia. That's really kind of nicely done, right? It shows that Dabria is seeing things in terms of her culture, and that, of course, she should. Right? She and her husbands had worked hard to make it a home, though it would be years before they had enough surplus to even think about a child. Dabria didn't know what Holler's warning had meant, but she couldn't turn her back on her sister when she was so close. Testve and the men had met her only 3 hours later. Holler had appeared to them with the same message, and even if they hadn't recognized the Chief Celestial from the Great Temple, oh, you did explain, okay, cool. They had taken the warning seriously. By the time the disaster had struck, all 5 of them had made it back to Speleon. Dabria had used every connection she had to get them a tiny room behind a tavern just south of the Great Temple. It had been a favorite drinking spot for the younger priests, the Liquaman Lounge, at least before Terra had departed. After the temple had been replaced by a solid column of suputari, impervious to any assault by mining tools, Kesnia and her family had feared ruin, but the same... Who's Kesnia now? Okay. Or Ksenia. Who is Ksenia? Okay. Ksenia and her family had feared ruin, but the same Suputari that resisted any attempts at vandalism by dwarves, angry or frightened by the departure of the gods. We need a pause to breathe there. But the same Suputari that resisted any attempts at vandalism by the dwarves, angry or frightened by the departure of the gods, had also stood unshaken as even the walls of the great cavern shook, and stalactites fell. We need to breathe. Hello, Winged Leo. Good to see you. Sorry that my camera is off. I am having problems with my internet today, and I assume that it's actually my CPU. I assume it must be running really hot due to the fact that it is currently 43 degrees according to the official temperature, which means it's actually 45. I am under the heat dome. Okay. And we're doing an edit for Anastasia. I like how you've explained Suputari in here. I follow, right? I don't need to know exactly what it is. It's like an impervious hard metal. She owns the Liquaman Lounge. There's a lot of names here, and a lot of new terms. I'm tired, and my brain is starting to hurt. I suggest that you, unless they're going to appear again in the story, even if Ksenia is a good friend of Dabria's, I would still suggest skipping a name, right? Her dear friend, the owner, and her family had feared ruin, something like that, right? Because it's too much to remember. I can't keep track of all the new terms and all the new names, especially when they seem to be of a variety of ethnicities and grammar rules. I'm really having trouble following, and I'm pretty good at this. So it does need some some reconsidering for that, right? Especially in the confines of a short story. Is this the first short story in the series? Because maybe you don't need all of this right away. Ease us into it. Okay. Okay, when half the Great Lake had sloshed out its aquifer, the waters had parted around the former temple and spared Liquidman Lounge entirely. That's kind of nice. The Liquidman Lounge had been a favorite drinking spot for the younger Sacerdos, at least before Terra had departed. That's cool, yeah. After the temple had been replaced by a solid column of Supatari, impervious to any assault by mining tools, its owners had feared ruin. Okay, that's cool. How about add in there, its owners, so-and-so, such and such, and whatchamacallit, right? Had feared ruin, because then we know who they are and have some context before you start talking about them by name, at least. And that would be helpful. Dabria, Testave, and her husbands had remained safe and dry. When Keheller and Akalorataran had scouted their return to their homestead, however. When the men had scouted the return to their homeland, however, that would be nice. Yeah, that would work. However, they had found the tunnels completely collapsed. Though they had arced the roofs... Where am I here? Though they had arched the roofs of the corridors as Terra had taught, or arched the roofs of the corridors as Terra had taught, the force of the disaster had overcome even their careful engineering. They had gone a week, and when they returned, it was with news of destruction and injury everywhere they went. Brutal. What the hell is that now? Noises. Okay. Dabria had heard the calls for search parties for rescuers. She had ignored them, clinging to the family she had so nearly lost. It had been her sister who had jolted her out of her selfishness, when even Sapendo survivors had become rare and search teams returned with fewer survivors than bodies. Dabria might have no comfort to offer the living, but the dead were her business. What is Sapendo? Okay. Search parties could not always tell the Sapendo from the dead. It had been one of the goddess's gifts when she formed her people. Massive trauma, limited air, or even sudden starvation, thank you, would put dwarves in a state of Sapendo that only the Sacerdos Mortis were trained to tell from true death. That's handy. Yeah, like you said, we don't see them again in the story, so they get to be faceless nobodies. Fair enough. Yeah, okay, this is cool. I like this, a state of hibernation that basically looks like death. That's cool. Dabria had returned to temple service in a way, reporting to the evaluation centers that had been built against the Supatari walls, and learning that it had never been prayer that allowed her to recognize whether any spark of life remained in a body. She could still lay her hands on the head and extend herself to call to any life within. That's nice. It pinches my feminism to only name the head of household and not the spouses. I hear ya. I hear ya. Those who could live were turned over to the healers. For those who had already died, the pragmatic rituals of death remained even without the comfort of a goddess, who could assure the living that they could still carve a path into the future. For those who had already died, the pragmatic rituals of death remained. I think you could shorten this. I think you could put, for those who had already died, the pragmatic rituals of death remained, even without the comfort and assurance of a goddess for the future. That's the break. The cheering, for those of you who are doing sprinting. In 8 minutes, the +2 UTC time zone gets to start. The Plutomorus to break down the tissues. The word I can't pronounce, who fed on them and bred new life. The isolation of the body in the place of the dead for a generation before the life it supported could be... Wow, okay, big sentence. The Plutomerus to break down the tissues. The word I can't pronounce, who fed on them and bred new life. The isolation of the body in the place of the dead for a generation, comma, before the life it supported could be harvested to feed the fish, comma, who would feed the people. I know that's not technically how it works, right? But I think we need that because we need a break, you know? Okay. The cycle continued, had to continue, just as life and death continued for the children Tara had left behind. And then the Sapendo had stopped coming, and the bodies had been harder to extract. The injured returning for evaluation had been rescuers, with no survivors to balance the pain they had paid. Finally, Adalia, the former high priestess, had declared that it was time to meet the dead where they lay. She had asked those who had been Sacerdos Mortis to travel with the search party, had armed them with boxes of rich earth to fill the mouths where they lay, with vials of Plutomerus and of the word I can't pronounce already paired with one another. South Africa is making it legal for women to have multiple husbands now. Well, that's cool. If there's already multiple wives, why not? It was grim work, tinged with despair, but it was necessary. Once on her 4th day out, Dabria had found, I think, because that's obviously a typo. Homemaking is real work, legit. Dabria had found a man still Sapendo. His legs were crushed beneath fallen rock, and he would never walk again, but the spark of life still dwelt within his brain. The men with her had mined with new energy, digging him free and sliding him onto a thin metal sheet to be transferred back to Speleon. That's really neat. Speleon. Dabria hoped he had been still alive when he arrived. Since then, though, the days had been like this. Digging through rubble, finding remains that had once been people. Sometimes crushed skulls made her examination a mere formality. Others, some quirk of fate had left the head intact, and Dabria had bowed her own head over it, seeking for some tiny spark of hope, some whisper of potential. Nothing. She knew she should be grateful that the men were coddling her. She suspected they were sharing the food unevenly, making sure she had enough, but she was too tired to correct them. It was as much as she could do sometimes to keep walking between piles of crushed rubble where smooth walls should have been. This is good. I now feel the tragedy. I've been struggling a lot over terminology up until this point, and I've therefore been forced to be more technical in my head. This is where I'm beginning to feel the tragedy. This is good. You might want to consider starting with something that refers to the tragedy earlier, because that'll keep us reading through the technical stuff. And then, and I get that you need it for the rest of the universe to make sense, right? Because otherwise, you know, I'm sure there will be other stories later that will matter and this will be really relevant to. And if it's the first story in the series, you know, you gotta kind of lay some groundwork. But yeah, I might consider referring to that earlier somehow. I really like the way you started it off because it was very poetic. Let's get back to work, Rob. All the regular productivity. For those of you sprinting, 3 minutes until UTC +2 can start. That includes Finland, looks like Estonia, Belarus, Ukraine, Turkey, Greece, Egypt, the Sudan, the Congo, Zambia, Nambia, and South Africa. So, cool. All right, so back to the story. Yeah. Anyway. Sacerdos, Samael cried. The men had been digging forward while she moped, and Dabria shook herself. What is it, Samael? Hello, Atanchi. Good to see you. We're just finishing up an edit here. At least we're going to stop in a moment. I'm sorry we're about halfway through the story. For Oxhaze. Yeah. What is it, Samael? I think we found something. The scene that met Dabria was certainly different. Dabria had to admit. Could say she had to admit there. It might have been a home once. The pink granite that had been cleared to the side was like no other stone they had passed. Neither were the injuries. Ooh, okay. Now I'm interested. Dabria thought they had been men once. Their hair was gone, burned away with the back of their clothing and half their flesh. Shards of metal stuck from some of them as well as littering the scene. I would say that as shards of metal littered the scene and stuck through their bodies is how I would put that. Just to double check here, we've got, like I said, about a minute and a half lag because I guess my system isn't running well because I'm in the heat dome, so... Okay. Daryl was prying a second from the huddle, laying it on its back and trying to pry its jaw open so she could fill it with earth. Samael wasn't looking at that, though. He was looking at an object on which the man had been sprawled. The man? I thought they were dead if they lose their gender when they're dead. Would that be... maybe would it be the body? What is it? Dabria repeated. Their cooking pot. They were huddled over it deliberately, I think. All of them. Samael shook his head. I think this one in the center was the mother. Mother? Dabria peered at the charred flesh. Its hips were wider, she supposed, though it had taken just as much damage as the others. Yes, Samael said. I can think of only one thing I would sacrifice my beloved to protect. Look here. Here was a ring of stones between the bodies and the cauldron. Dabria shook her head, not understanding what the man meant. I think they propped it up, Samael explained. Stones around the edge to keep the rim off the ground. Allow some air in. Dabria looked around the scene again. Daryl was still laying out the bodies. On their backs, most of the damage was hidden. The explosion that had engulfed them had been terrible but brief, flaying their backs and half cremating them from behind, but it had not heated the pot, even enough to damage the skin pressed against it. Interesting. You think the force of explosion pushed the pot off the supporting stones, she said. Samael nodded. I don't think they planned to die. Those blocks, the granite, they were thick, and you can see where they had been carved to interlock. Might have been some of Terra's gift, easing them together. A month ago, I would have said that sort of construction would stand against anything. As strong as the stone of the mountains, as the blessing went. But, Dabria gestured to the cracks in what had been living stone. Everything has a breaking point. And my mother always said building strong is no substitute for caution. Samael's mother had been injured, Dabria remembered, on one of the early rescue missions. A secondary fall when someone had rushed ahead with his pick before the Sacerdos Lapis, the former Sacerdos Lapis, had a chance to make sure the walls were stable. Though I don't think even she would have expected the mountain itself to fall. Dabria nodded, considering the upturned cauldron. It had been a good choice, if that's what the family had intended. The curved walls would have transferred the force of falling stone into the ground. The thick iron hadn't even cracked, and the bodies over it. Dabria didn't doubt that Samael was right about what they would find under the cauldron, or at least what had been hidden there. It was as much safety as any parents could offer when one of Terra's own Celestials had warned them of danger. That they would trust their own construction, their own cleverness over their ability to flee through common tunnels. Well, they hadn't survived, but neither had any of the dwarves who had attempted to evacuate from this far south. They had never had a chance. Thank you, Bob. Any CEST country, Central European Standard Time. It is now after midnight. Lots more Europe than you mentioned. I'm just reading what happens to be on the names here in this band, Bob. That's all. Right, it's meant to give an idea rather than be specific. But fair enough, thank you. This is the map I'm using, Bob, when it finally catches up to you in a minute and a half. And it has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, daylight times may be different. You're right. Moving on. Dabria stared at the cauldron and wondered why she was hesitating. Sacerdos? Samael's voice was more hesitant now. Do you think there's any hope? After this long, alone and trapped without air? Dabria shook her head. She needed the hope as much as the men did, needed to identify some seam to mine. Maybe? Help me move it? The pry bar they had used so often to shift rubble slid easily under the lip of the pot. Dabria pressed the lever against the ground while Samael and Darrell got their fingers under the lip of the pot and then heaved. And heaved. Summertime. Okay, fine. The body that had been under the pot was tiny, less than a year old and swaddled tightly in fabrics imported from the lands above. The face was still marked with tears. The infant lay perfectly still and silent. Tears in his own eyes, Samael lifted the child from the stone. Sacerdos? He offered the bundle to Dabria. She bowed her head, reaching out to touch the tiny head. Her hand was almost bigger than the tiny face, but she took a breath and then reached, as the goddess had taught, calling to any spark of life that might remain. Shaking, Dabria looked up at Samael's worried face. Sacerdos? He asked again. Sapendo. She blinked tears from her eyes, forbade her body to collapse. She wanted to pray, to give thanks to Terra. Okay, this is where I think I have to stop. We've already gone 2 hours with this, which I continued because there were interruptions and delays and frustrations. Thank you, Anstaze. I think you've got a good start there. I'm interested in your world. I like your characters. I am interested in the dwarven culture, and I want to know more about why these gods left the world and what happened. This is something that would keep me reading the rest of the collection. There's some really good world building stuff in there. I just think find a different way to be so technical about a bunch of the terminology and maybe don't expo dump it all at once, you know? But otherwise, it's excellent. Okay, I'm going to go for another brief break, guys, and I will be right back. When I get back, we are going to do, okay, Calutan wanted to wait, so I guess we're going to do James. Oh, and Eli wanted to wait too. Did Calutan have one in the queue? Oh, I can't get this far behind on the queue, guys. All right. I'll be right back. Alright, gang, I am back. Okay, so, guys, here's the thing. I cannot keep up with the queue on showcases. I am hopelessly behind. Right? Furthermore, I've already gotten to a point where I'm not actually getting any writing done in the streams where I do showcases. Right? I can't. Currently in my queue, I have, in this order, 10 days ago, Dazzlecat, welcome to Tangore on the Basque Sea. Dazzlecat, 8 days ago, the River Bend military conflict. We did that one though, didn't we? Okay, RPG Dinosaur Bob, the Eastern Kingdoms primer article, 6 days ago. Moonflower, 21 hours ago. Infinite Aincrad Moonflower writing, oh no, Volptinger species, sorry, Volptinger species. 2 hours ago. Cayutan, I'll just put it here. Matt Law. And James Woodwright, 2 hours ago, Zone 1. If I did all of these in the order in which they came in, I would be done next week. I can't, guys. I can't. So let's see. How are we going to do this? Yeah, I think that's how we're going to do it, Stretch. I think from this point forward, I am disabling the showcases until they're caught up. That's one thing I'm going to do. We're going to start it now. We've also disabled the edits, right? And the edits are going to remain disabled for the remainder of July. Right? I don't want to exclude people. I don't know how to keep up. Right? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to disable the showcases until they're done. And I'm going to rethink my policy on it for July. I think that I've got to do something different if I'm going to get any writing done at all. Maybe what I'll do is... I already limit it to 1 per hour, Bob. I already limit it to 1 per hour. That's why my limit is 3, right? Because my streams are 3 hours. Right, so I get, you know, there's a total of 3 per stream, right? And then that's it. And it takes me about an hour to do everybody's, you know? I don't know here. Maybe I'm just feeling peevish today because it's really, really hot. It is 43 degrees still, according to the official tally. It's probably 45 in this room. You know, I have to shut the door against the air conditioner. I don't know. So I'm sorry for being, you know, feeling the strain, but I feel the pressure. I really want to talk about people. 1 hour cooldown? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay, I saw the half one, done one as I was talking about layout, not a review. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to go in order now and I'm going to ask. Okay? Dazzlecat, do you still want me to review Welcome to Tangore? I will keep it on the queue if you say yes, and that's fine. Like you know, Stretch suggested, we'll finish out the queue until it's done. I don't need the help anymore and I'm feeling icky anyway, says Moon. Okay, I will refund your points. Thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't get there. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'm asking, Daz, do you still want me to do both of these? There's Tangori on the Biscay and there's the Riverbend. Bob, I've still got the Eastern Kingdoms here. You really wanted my feedback on it. How about I refund your channel points, or, you know, or I can hold on to them. And since we're getting together tomorrow to stream, how about we go over it in your stream? Because that might be fun. Yeah, that's a special announcement, by the way. Tomorrow at, I'm going to be back from my early, you know, 2 hours writing in Kickstarter promotion at, noon Pacific, directly following the World Anvil stream tomorrow. Right, and then Bob is streaming, and I'm getting together with him on his stream, since it turned out that my plans to go out of town were postponed till Friday, in the hopes that the heat would break, right? So, I'm gonna be on his stream, and we're gonna unpack summer camp props. It'll be fun. Okay, so you don't still want the Tangori one. Okay, I will refund your points. So now we have the Riverbend. Okay? Yeah, these are, yeah, I gotta do something. I'm kind of chewing on whether or not to do an edit stream specifically. You lay down, Moon, I feel ya. I'm gonna try Bob's cooldown idea. Okay, Bob, I will keep yours in the queue. Then we've got Cayetan, who is not here. And then we've got James. Okay. Alright, so let's look at the Riverbend. Thank you guys for your patience. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try Bob's cooldown idea. 1 hour cooldown. Like, that's it, that's all. And if that doesn't work, if I end up with a backlog, then what I think I'm gonna do is it's gonna be 1 per stream. Anybody who wants to put one in the queue can that they want. And I will use the random name picker we use to draft the undead in Game of Tomes to draft randomly who gets it. That's what I'm gonna do, I think. Yeah, in the meantime, let's go look at Daz's article here. Thank you guys for your patience. I should have time to do both Daz and James by the time we're done. James's articles tend to be pretty short. All right. Thanks for understanding, guys. That's the sprint if you were sprinting. Okay. Are you sure I didn't do this one? I did this one, Daz. Oh, you've done some editing since then. Okay. I saw the light fade from their eyes. On a wind came their last sighs. Leaves drift over my fallen brothers while I say this last goodbye. Many places have we seen, many troubles have there been. My heart doesn't regret, my mind won't forget. My brothers who dared all with me. To your memories I will hold, my blessing to your souls. We came all this way, and we won this day. Now to the gosling I must go. I bid you all a very fond farewell. Fox Fairchild. Spice. I can smell the sage, Skipper. Gwera grinned from the bow of the gosling. Fox Fairchild nodded. Gwera sniffed again and sneezed. There is time, too. You've become a master of spices, Gwera. The sailor groaned and turned back to watching the riverbanks. Fox laughed. Not seeing much of anything with this mist rolling in, Gwera complained. The mist. Bristol, set her down, Fox called out. He, too, watched. It was not the banks he watched, it was the mist. Gwera spun to Fox. How can you be sure, Skipper? The mist, Gwera. Fox's voice turned grim. It's too late on a warm winter morning for it to gather. Okay, I don't know. Answer me that, James. Would you prefer I do yours first? Because I would really prefer to do it today and clear things out of my queue. One edit raffle entry per stream. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I might just do that. Hey, Zog, how are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome back. I assume you're doing summer camp. Sorry, my camera is not on. I am having massive issues due to the fucking heat. And I can see that I am having massive issues again. This is marvelous. I am really enjoying this. Not. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I am going to shut down every other Twitch window that I am watching, except for the chat. So you'll have to tell me. Alright, we'll do James first. Provided you can actually see or hear anything, which it didn't look like on my stream. Zone 1 from James. Feel free to put your link back in the chat there, James, so that people can follow. Zone 1 is the most central zone within the city of Burdencaster. Zone 1 is put aside for entertainment, such as the arena, squares, and plazas. Zone 4 is where people need to go to bars and restaurants. Zone 1 is renowned for its meeting places. You don't need a comma here. And is used as such. On the great day of celebration, Zone 1 is used to celebrate. Let's see. I'd say delete the sentence that says Zone 4 entirely. We do not need to know about Zone 4. This is not Zone 4. Zone 1 is the most central zone within the city of Burdencaster. It is put aside for entertainment, such as the arena, squares, and plazas. Zone 1, no comma, is renowned for its meeting places and is used as such. On the great day of celebration, the zone is used to celebrate. That's to get back to work ground. People. Residents. Zone 1 is the only zone which doesn't have residents, so the citizens that are there are visitors from other parts of Burdencaster. Makes sense? Visitors. Visitors to the zone will tend to pick a place they enjoy about the zone. No comma needed after enjoy. For example, they may choose a garden that is lower down than at the normal level of everything else. Comma is needed there, however, or after the or, depending on whether you're using the Oxford comma or not, or choose a plaza that has more statues. Zone 1 is usually a good place to meet, as everyone knows where it is and how to identify the squares, plazas, and gardens. I don't think you need that paragraph at all. At all. Just take that whole paragraph right out. Yeah, okay, fine, James. Yeah, take this whole paragraph right out. That'll be the last thing I'll say here. You've already said all of the important things, and the rest we can infer, right? Zone 1 is usually a good place to meet, as everyone knows where it is and how to identify the squares, plazas, and gardens. Okay? Right? Um, yeah, this is not to say they don't meet in meeting places as their own zone segment. That makes, of course they do, and they meet. Or you could even just delete that first sentence and go with the other two, and I'll leave it at that. Alright, I'll do this later. Have a good night. Sleep well, James. Figure out how I can tell what's going on with the stream when I can't watch the stream. See you later, Bob. All right. Okay. We've already read about the mist. Carrying on. The Gosling. Aye, aye, skipper, Bristol answered from the helm. He placed a hand on the hub of the ship's wheel and pressed. Nothing on the wheel moved, but the Gosling started to gently sink from the sky. Bristol steered the keel boat down to a smooth landing in the middle of the river. Get ready, brothers, Fox ordered, his voice hard as steel. We have arrived. 30 men who had so patiently sat cramped together stood and hefted their staves. Into the woods. There, Burr looked sharply at the right bank. Someone moves in the mist. Fox raised his arm high. All of the Gosling went still. He dropped his arm towards the right bank. Bristol turned the keelboat and brought her in close. Fox jumped off the Gosling and onto the wet rocks. 2 great dogs and the 30 men, his fellow acolytes, followed. The first fray. Flanked by the 2 great dogs, Fox led the scramble out of the water. The men behind him formed 2 rows and rushed up the bank to more level ground. Wild men charged out of the trees wearing fur kilts, moccasins, and nothing else. Each bore sigils etched deep into his skin all across his torso. They attacked, swinging bearded axes on 4-foot handles. No quarter, no mercy. There were 50 of these wild men, all with bloodlust in their eyes. Fox held no hope that they would surrender or ask for mercy. Men such as these believed only the weak begged for mercy or gave it, and they sneered at the weak. Fox and his brothers met them with fierce discipline and unfailing resolve. The 2 great dogs tore into the wild men. One bit an arm clean off. You have an M there, you need an N. Yes, Oxtaze says to... That's right. Your laptop needs to start behaving and positioning the proper keys under your fingers. The other pulled down a wild man and ripped his throat open. Axe halves crashed against acolyte staves that blocked nearly every chop. In a few savage moments, all the wild men were dead, but they were not the only ones. Marching on, 2 acolytes lay among the dead. Fox sent 3 more of his brothers back to the Gosling bearing wounds. There was no time for a rest, but acolytes were trained how to breathe and ease fighting muscles even as they marched. They had to press on. The great dog scouted the way through the misted woods while the men quietly followed. A half hour later, the trees opened up to a sprawling camp before a tall cave cut into a hillside. The reviled one. Gaunt and naked men in chains hobbled about doing menial tasks. Seeing the acolytes and dogs emerge from the trees, they scurried away to a corral. Simple pallets were spread about the corral, a captive's pen, Fox realized. No women or children could be seen. He grimaced. There was only one fate for women and children in places like this. He hoped they had arrived in time to save at least some of them. Mist billowed from the cave and the acolytes formed into a circle, bracing themselves. With shrieks and maddened screams, women and children charged out of the cave brandishing daggers. Their eyes held a ruby glow as unnaturally long black tongues, and you need an N in tongues, right now you've got tubes, wagged out of their mouths. There was no time to despair over these lost souls. There was only time to kill them. The mob surrounded the circle of acolytes. Poisoned tongues lashed out. Acolytes ducked. Daggers jabbed in. Acolyte staves blocked them. Not all of these were ducked or blocked. 2 acolytes fell to the ground, writhing in poisonous death throes. A half-dozen more bled from dagger wounds. Many women and children died. Their numbers were many, though, and the clash raged on. One of the great dogs let out a thunderous woof. The mist cleared for a moment, revealing 4 men in reddish attire and carrying clawed staves creeping past the tents towards the acolytes' left flank. Some of the acolytes is spelled wrong, you've got the T and the L transposed, broke free of the mob to deal with these summoners. Fox and his 2 great dogs also broke free to charge the cave. He hoped to save whoever remained inside. The true terror behind all this horror stomped out of the cave to meet him. It was the vile great demon, I pronounced it right the first time, Ra-Tikwa. Screams from more of his brothers dying joined the shrieks from the lost souls and the howls of unhallowed magics, but Fox dared not turn away from this new foe. I like your pictures, by the way. The last fight. Ra-Tikwa bore down on Fox, roaring with glee and spraying hot ichor. Grinning, Ra-Tikwa snorted at Fox, its huge clawed feet pounding the ground. The great demon licked its lips with a long black tongue as it neared. Fox narrowed his eyes. His foes always scoffed at his appearance, never realizing his boyish face hid his true age and experience until he killed them. The great dogs attacked Ra-Tikwa from behind. The demon stumbled. Fox sidestepped the deadly charge. "Duel," he said, and ran up invisible steps sprouting beneath his feet. I see that my bitrate is red again and I am waiting for it to catch up. All right. Let's see if that helps. Alright, carrying on. "Z!" Fox yelled. Magic flowed through him. He delivered a powerful kick to the demon's head. Ra-Tikwa bellowed and fell to the ground, eyes glazed. The mist thickened about them. Roars, shouts, barks, and the flash of magic ignited the mist. Beyond them, the rest of the acolytes fought on. More acolytes. Again, you have the, this time you have the Y and the L transposed, fell on the ground. The battle with the summoners clambered into the captive's pen. One summoner's clawed staff grabbed a captive. Just delete man. It doesn't matter. Captive, right? Because captive men, captive man, it makes your brain kind of... Captive's pen, captive man makes your brain trip a little. Another summoner drew a dagger and plunged it into the captive's chest, speaking foul words. Blood streamed out of the wound, turning into a dark black swirl of vileness, thirsting for more blood. A scream of terrible pain and an unholy bellow cried out together, and all of the mist vanished. Fox and the dogs stood over a very still Ra-Tikwa. Shrieks and maddened screams of the tainted women and children stopped as those not already dead fell lifeless to the ground. The vanishing of the mist killed the summoners. Spleen swirling vileness. It swirled about the pen, killing everyone. The vanishing of the mist. How about this? Because this is a little confusing about what the mist is doing exactly and what is the cause of which. So, the vanishing of the mist took the lives of the summoners with it, freeing the swirling vileness. It spiraled around the pen, killing everyone. Slen, the last dying acolyte in the pen, managed to whisper. The swirling vileness faded to nothing. Fox drew a white crystal from his pouch, wincing at the claw-torn wounds revealing his ribs. With a shaking hand, he drew the essence of Ra-Tikwa into the crystal, then watched the demon's body melt into the ground. Pressing the shreds of his slicker to the caustic burns on his left side, he turned around. 3 of his brother acolytes stood bleeding from wounds. 2 more helped each other to their feet. The rest lay dead. Okay, that was cool, Daz. I think you've done some good work since I last saw it. It's a moving story. I know I've read all the stuff in the sidebar, so I'm not going to read it again. Right? But if you were having me look at the main story, it's excellent. I've already given you a like. Definitely check it out. That's it's probably well overdue, but that one you can see we've got about a 2-minute lag now, but that is the timer that says that the sprint is done. I'm going to say at this point, since my clock says 3:52 and we're at a 2-minute lag, this is your last chance to submit your word counts for the stream that you have not yet submitted. If you are playing the game of Tomes and the Tourney of Tales, the next time zone to click over, I believe, is UTC +1. Oh wait, no, this is standard time, isn't it? Are we about to hit midnight UTC? We might be. Let me see. I'm looking on my other computer because it's easier. Pretty close, pretty close. Okay, no, we got 1 more hour. Alright, so UTC +1 is about to click over. This is Central European time, as I recall. So most of Europe, right? What I can see on the screen here: Sweden, Norway, Poland, France, Italy, Spain, Algeria, Libya, Chad, Niger, Nigeria, the other half of the Congo, Angela, yeah, right? Most of the African continent, all of the Scandinavian countries that haven't clicked over yet, most of Europe. See you later, Anastasia. Yes, it was domain. Okay, that's good. See, I just got this now because you just responded to my chat now. You know, today the heat was supposed to start breaking. I see no signs of this. None. There's an orange apocalyptic light outside because somewhere near Lillooet is on fire and it's burning out of control, and the heat is 43 degrees, and I see no signs of this breaking. My cat was out all night last night. I was up until 4 o'clock in the morning looking for him. I finally got to bed at 5 a.m. and he still hadn't come home. I saw him this morning though. Clearly he decided to take a nap during the day and then screw off during the night. So, because he was too hot. The link for the showcase just reviewed. Yeah. Thanks, Das. Alright, I think I've had enough of this for one day. I'm very frustrated with my technology, and I'm very frustrated with, you know, the heat in here. So, let's find someone to raid if we can. Okay, so while we're looking for someone to raid, and if you guys could tell me so I don't have to open up another Twitch window and put some more effort on my router, I'd really appreciate it. My poor wounded router and CPU, they're dying. They hate me. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to be starting at noon Pacific, so directly following the summer camp stream. That's intended to be my 2-hour Kickstarter promotional thing that I've been doing, where we're going to be going over some summer camp prompts. We'll talk about those. I will do one showcase, probably James, right? And then I will dig into summer camp stuff with the Toy Soldier Saga. Directly following that, so yeah, okay, so that's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UTC, 8 p.m. in the UK. That is when that starts, which is, let me do my brain math here, UTC add 5, right? No. I had forgotten how to calculate Australian time at the moment. Let me do that. Right. Okay, yeah, reverse the polarity of my hours, add 5. Okay, so noon would be midnight, so 5 a.m. Australian Eastern time. That's when that starts tomorrow. Then 2 hours after that, so 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UTC, 10 p.m. in the UK, 2 p.m., 2 a.m. That can't be right. Yeah, it's right. Okay, so like 7 a.m. Australian Standard Time, or Australian Eastern Time, we will be, I will be on Dinosaur Bob's stream. He kindly offered to like cover my slot tomorrow since I was supposed to be out of town. And so I'm going to be on his stream. That will probably be a lot easier on my poor CPU. And we are going to unpack summer camp prompts together. So that will be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to that a lot. Right? Friday, we will not be here. That is when we're supposedly changing our plans. At least I hope that the heat will have broken by then. So Ask an Old GM will likely be canceled that day. I will take it off the schedule as soon as I confirm. Right? Saturday, another special event. Noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UTC, 8 p.m. in the UK, 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Time, for 5 hours, where, you know, the heat's supposed to have been broken by then. There will be an epic team-up. Eli Quake, Basic Dragon, and I are getting together to promote our Kickstarters and ask each other about our projects, interview each other. Maybe there'll be some music. There will certainly be some fun, right? And we will tell you why you should support us all. Eli's Kickstarter will just have started. Their Kickstarter starts tomorrow. Do not miss it. Make their opening day fantastic, right? Basic Dragon's Kickstarter is still ongoing. They are fully funded, right? But, you know, there's stretch goals and those could be supported. Mine will be, today is the halfway mark. Actually, we have 15 days left. And, yeah, I will be, I'll tell you all about mine too. I haven't checked in on the Kickstarter yet today. We're in a holding pattern here at $3,896. At $5,000, we make an audiobook. If you guys want to see an audiobook, share the wealth. Keep promoting it. Because I'd like to see an audiobook. That'd be nice. And yeah, I guess that's all I have for announcements at the moment, other than it is now 4 o'clock according to my calendar, so that means that most of Europe has just switched over to be able to compete in the Tourney of Tales. I will be submitting my first report for the day, or for the month, and I am really looking forward to finding out about the summer camp prompts tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. I really hope I can go to bed too early tonight. I think probably what I'm going to do is freeze my sheets and put ice packs under my ass, and then maybe I can get to sleep before 2 a.m. because I need some extra sleep. Alright, I'm sorry for all the frustration and technical difficulties today, guys, and I'm sorry for the fact that I sound exhausted when I'm hot. We will see you tomorrow, and it will be a lot of fun. Because I know we've got the lag, I'm going to close things off by shutting down Chrome, playing my Kickstarter video, and probably the Tourney of Tales one after that, and then I'm going to put up the end screen to raid because I know we're 2 minutes behind. If Eli is still live, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see what I can do about finding someone to raid. Have a good afternoon, morning, or evening, everyone. Tomorrow should run much smoother. I should tell you that it's actually much cooler by about 5 or 6 degrees earlier in the day. So that will be a big help. And, you know, we'll be starting at noon my time, so that'll make a big deal. It'll probably be at least a couple degrees cooler. Also, Aaron won't be trying to watch the Young Turks on the same router as the one I'm using to try to stream that is already overheated. And yeah. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk about summer camp. It'll be fun. Come join me afterwards. We'll have a good time. All right? Have a good time zone. Hi there, my name is Diane Morrison, and I'm a science fiction and fantasy author. I'm looking for your help to publish my novel, A Few Good Elves. 3 years ago, you guys helped me publish Once Upon a Time in the Weird West, which is a collection of my Weird Western serial stories. And 2 years ago, you helped me to edit and publish Gunsmoke and Dragonfire, a fantasy western anthology. I figure we make a winning team. The Toy Soldier Saga is a fantasy space opera universe. It has all of the elements of space opera science fiction, but everything's done by magic. I don't think there's anything out there that is quite like it. And I really hope that you'll enjoy it and the extended universe that has been created around it.
I am Chris. I play Arian, the grizzled older ex-enlisted elf.
Remember, we've only got 30 days to make this happen. With your support, you can have some of the art that's been created for the books, you can have the stories, the ebook, a trade paperback copy, a hardcover copy, you might be able to get them signed. You could even get the entire collection of everything that I have previously published or been published in. Thanks in advance for your support, and thank you for listening.